Hi, I'm Rochelle Yin, and today we are in Canggu together with Gaz Oakley of Avant-Garde Vegan. And Gaz has done 2 cooking demos so far, one on sriracha meatballs, right? And then he just did another one on a Mexican burger, which tasted amazing. And he has very kindly agreed to be interviewed by me. So thank you so much for your time. I think I wanted to ask you more about you published 2 books this year, and I just did. Yeah, I also had my book out this year as well. So I was very curious to understand what your process was. How do you go about getting it out, and yeah, and then we'll proceed from there. Also, I'll pass you the microphone.
So hi, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, 2 books in 1 year. I never thought that would be possible. To do 1 book was a dream come true, and it's something that when I started cooking, it was on the list, as well as having a restaurant. It was on the list to do, because I grew up reading cookbooks and inspired by many chefs who had cookbooks. So that was a dream. So the first book came about purely, really, I guess, just off the success of the recipes I was posting on Instagram. Now, I grew a bit of a following on there, and one day I just had a random email come through from a lady who was asking me whether I'd want to do a cookbook, and I get quite a lot of emails along those lines, and so I didn't really get my hopes up. But looking further into the email, her name was Zoe, and she's an agent from United Agents, which is a really big agency in the UK. So then I knew I could take it more seriously. So I actually had a few meetings with publishers with the agent Zoe, and was lucky enough to get a book deal. This was, I think it was mid 2017, and I signed a book deal, and I was basically just given free rein to sort of do what I felt fit. So my sort of idea was to create a book that I wish I had when I first went vegan. So it was a collection of all the recipes that I'd been experimenting with from going vegan up into the point of writing the book. So I was using inspiration that I'd sort of gained, thinking maybe a dish that I kind of missed before going vegan, that I used to eat whilst I wasn't vegan. I missed it, so I'd recreate it. So lots of recipes like that, and also with that book as well, I needed to make sure that there was something for everyone. It was my first book. I needed to make sure it's a substantial amount of recipes, lots of gluten-free, lots of cooked recipes, some raw recipes, a good mix of small, easy main meals, and obviously sweets as well. So it was tough narrowing down the recipes. So that's how that first one came about. And then the Christmas book that I've just released, called Vegan Christmas, was basically just a sort of long shot, really. My first book just came out, and I decided to, at last Christmas, decided to write some Christmas recipes. And then I approached my agent Zoe and said, look, I've got these really nice Christmas recipes. I could turn it into a mini book. And she said yes, and we got the publisher involved again, and they were kind enough to let me do a second book. And the Christmas book went from a mini book to over 70 recipes, which is a lot, but some really amazing Christmas indulgent recipes, which I'm really proud of. So it's a bit of a long story, but that's how the 2 books came about. Yeah.
So specifically, things like how do you choose the title, and how do you decide which recipes would go into the cookbook? Maybe you can share a bit about that.
So in terms of the title of the both books, the first one, that was the hardest one. Vegan 100, there was 100 recipes in the book, so that's where that comes from. And also I think it's like a sort of bit of a slang term in the UK and probably America, where people say when they're describing something good, they're like, oh, that's 100, that type of thing. So I tried to play on that as well. Originally it was going to be Vegan 100, and the 100 would be the emoji 100.
Yeah.
So, but it looked a bit cartoony, so we turned it into like a nice block and tried to draw inspiration from sort of street art and street style, and make it really cool and young, and sort of more I didn't want it to look and sound like your typical cookbook. I wanted it to make it more like have all my inspiration into it, from style to music and all things like that. So that's how that one came about. And then Vegan Christmas, I actually don't even remember saying the book's going to be called Vegan Christmas. It just sort of just came about. I was speaking to my publisher and they just said, yeah, so Vegan Christmas is coming out on this day. I was like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's called Vegan Christmas now, is it? And so, it just works because it does what it says. It says on the sort of on the front page. So there's no point me calling it Gaz's Extraordinary Vegan Christmas Recipe. Just keep it short and simple. Vegan 100 and Vegan Christmas.
Yeah, people know exactly what to
Exactly.
expect.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I was curious about because earlier during the demo you talked about taking really good photos, and I was wondering whether you took any photography classes or lessons, because I had to take like 3 photography courses to understand lighting, to understand aperture, to understand styling and things like that, because I actually have a law degree, and I was in public relations, so cooking, chefing, making raw vegan food is still quite new. I only discovered it in 2014. And taking photos, I was just using my phone and stuff like that. But like you said, people like pretty photos, and that helps get you to reach the right audience. So I was just wondering whether how do you do that? How do you take such nice photos, I guess?
Very good question. So I started off taking pictures on my iPhone, and realised quite quickly really that to get to the standard that of food photography that I wanted, I had to put the iPhone down and get a proper camera. And then you realise then that it's a case of just pressing a button. You need to really control lighting, aperture, and then you have to think about editing as well. But all I did was watch some YouTube videos on photography in general, really, and just started playing with the camera rather than just making loads of food and taking pictures. I would just experiment on taking some pictures of some bottles or a jar of something, just experiment with different lighting and things. What's really important with food photography is making sure that not only the food looks good, the whole background, the table you're plating up on, your plates, your props, everything needs to be perfect and sort of have some match and have some sort of colour contrast, and something that I'm learning, and I'm constantly getting props and bowls and plates from everywhere I go. I just filled my suitcase up with some ceramics from
Oh yeah, I saw it on your Instagram
yeah,
story.
where did I get it from? From Ubud, ceramic called Gaia Ceramics. The most beautiful things I've ever seen, and they were kind enough to give me some. So hopefully they make it back to the UK safe.
Yeah.
But in terms of things like photography, I feel as if I was never good in school, so I wasn't very good book smart. Like you say, you studied law. If I did that, I would be so out of my depth. I would be feeling really down. I could not do it whatsoever because I don't have the attention span, unfortunately. But what I do feel I have is a creativity side, and luckily you got both, obviously. But in terms of creativity, whether it's cooking, art, music-y stuff, style, drawing, cameras, I feel as if I learn it quite fast. So I'm having an amazing time in Bali the last few weeks, just taking pictures of landscapes and my family and the beach and things like that. So I feel as if I'm really comfortable with the camera now, and I'm able to judge the lighting. So I guess it's trial and error, and I've really fallen in love with photography actually. So luckily.
Okay, so you spent some time in Bali, and I think you've had some chance to try local Balinese food. So would you want to try and recreate those recipes at home? I'm just curious because I love the nasi goreng here.
Definitely. So a bit of a long sort of story answer really. I spent around 4-5 years in professional kitchens from the age of 15 onwards, and learning as much as I can in these professional kitchens. I got a good amount of experience under my belt, but in comparison to your Gordon Ramsays and your famous chefs, that is a dip in the ocean in terms of experience in professional kitchens. So my goal, rather than going back into the kitchens and working 80-hour weeks like I did before, is to travel as much as possible, because when you travel, you're learning different cuisines and cultures and foods and ingredients. So coming to Bali and eating things like nasi goreng, eating things like gado, tasting the satay sauce and being blown away. I cannot wait to go home now and recreate things like that, or use it as inspiration. I just made a burger then. And I think, as I said in the demo, burgers are great for getting non-vegans interested in vegan food, because it's in a form that they know and they love already. Just making a good vegan burger is just going to help them sort of bridge the gap, really. So I can't wait to do a gado burger, for example. You know, that would be really interesting. But definitely really inspired here. The produce is incredible. The freshness of their veg is amazing. I'm literally blown away. So I'm really inspired by this place, and I'm sad I have to leave, but I'm definitely going to be back soon, I'm sure.
Thank you. Oh, I had another question that I didn't manage to ask during the demo, but it's because you mentioned that, you know, there were in the kitchen there was like the majority of them are men. So I'm just wondering why is it so male dominated? Whereas I grew up in my family where all the mothers cook, but the professional chefs always seem to be men. Whereas in the house, the men don't cook. So do you have I don't know, what do you think about that?
Oh, God, it's a really good question, and probably don't have an answer for you. As I said, in my professional time in the kitchens, I only worked with one female chef, and I think it's a big shame. I think you know, it's not a case of men are better cooks. It's not the case. You know, everyone's equal and can cook the same regardless, I'm sure. And I think in general, people in general, everyone has the ability to cook. It's just certain people spend more time cooking and they get better. That's just what it is. It does help if you've got a bit of creativity. So I don't know why there's a difference. There's some amazing young female chefs in the UK now, and they're more and more on TV, which is great as well, which is going to inspire more young female chefs as well. So I'm sure there'll be more going forward. I think from my experience in the kitchens, unfortunately, inside the kitchens, it's a very I'm not sure the right word, and I don't want to put my foot in it. No, I don't know how to use the right word, so forgive me. I'm not very articulate, but I think it's a very male-dominated place. I know, being in the kitchens as a young kid, I was in there as a young kid, so even to me, I was like, wow, this is a very male-dominated environment. Lots of men that have been around the block. These are hard places to work. 80-hour weeks in front of hot ovens and huge stressful environments. And I'm not saying that's putting off female chefs at all. It's just maybe females for a long time have been smarter and realised that is a tough environment. That's the only thing I can put it down to, really. But I think it is seriously lacking more female chefs, because it'd be a vital asset to any team, definitely. I can't wait to have my own restaurant so I can make sure there's a great mix, and it's very important.
All right, thank you for that. Maybe you would tell us a bit about your book tour, because I saw your tour dates, and us is like, wow, this is like a musician tour. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, so as I said before, dream of mine to travel, dream of mine to meet people, being able to travel and meet people and subscribers around the world is, I'm obviously over the moon about it. So my book tour starts, and it's a Christmas book tour, so vegan Christmas book tour. It starts from here. I'm going from Bali to Canada. I'm doing a cooking demo at Montreal Vegan Festival the end of this month. And then I go from there to Toronto, and then into New York, and then all around America. I think it's about 8 or 9 dates or something like that. going to various bookstores, doing talks and Q&As, some cooking demos, and doing some collaborations along the way, interviews and cooking for people and things like that. So it's going to be an amazing time. Obviously, I'm so grateful to be able to do that, and I hope I'm hoping as many subscribers as I have as possible can come along and I can meet them and spend some time and just chat. So it's a dream. Honestly, it's a dream. If you want to know about the tour dates, they're on my website just under tour dates.
Cool. So, okay, I think we'll end. We'll end the interview soon. Maybe just last few words for our Malaysian viewers out there. You know, what do you have to say to them?
Well, yes, to all the Malaysian viewers, somewhere I've really wanted to go for a long time. My close friend is half Malaysian. I keep nagging him, saying, you need to take me, but unfortunately he's there now when I'm here. However, we've been talking and hopefully we can sort some sort of collaboration out, and I'd love to get to Malaysia to be inspired by the food that's there, to meet some people in the vegan scene in Malaysia, because I hear it's big.
It's growing.
It's growing, yeah. So I would love to come, and any opportunity that arises for me to come, I'm going to come. So yeah, hopefully I'll be there soon. And thank you so much for having me on the channel.
So thank you so much. This is Gaz Oakley of Avant-Garde Vegan. Check it out. We'll put all the links below. And remember, he said he wants to come to Malaysia. So if anybody wants to bring him over, let one of us know or both of us know. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye. Thanks so much, guys.
That's all right. It's perfect. Thank you so much for all the questions.